Now please join me in welcoming Jay Ryan.
Thanks everyone. It's a real, it's really surreal that just have this happen, period. Yeah, as a lot of you know, I've been writing for a long time, and I've always wanted to write a book. You know, my mom was a huge influence on me, helping me to learn how to read when I was young, and I just grew up in a house where I felt like, oh, the coolest thing to do would be to write a book. And from when I was a little kid, she caught me writing written by Ryan Stradal inside of Richard Scarry's Cars and Trucks and Things That Go. So it's actually really nice to have a book that actually has my name printed on it already. I don't have to cross someone else's. Oh, hey Anya, good to see you. So yeah, I'll read a couple little pieces from the book and take questions at the end, or insults or projectiles. And thank you so much for coming. I look forward to talking to you afterwards as well. I think we're going to convene at Republic across the street. I'd heard from the staff here that it's got an open plan kind of thing. So, you know, looking for a room that we can hang out in. I can talk to more people later. So, all right. I guess I'll start at the beginning. Lars Torvald loved two women. That was it, he thought in passing, while he sat on the cold concrete steps of his apartment building. Perhaps he would have loved more than two, but it just didn't seem like things were going to work out like that. That morning, while defying a doctor's orders by pureeing a braised pork shoulder, he'd stared out his kitchen window at the snow on the roof of the Happy Chef restaurant across the highway and sang a love song to one of those two girls, his baby daughter, while she slept on the living room floor. He was singing a Beatles song, replacing the name of the girl in the old tune with the name of the girl in the room. He hadn't told a woman, "I love you," until he was 28. He didn't lose his virginity until he was 28 either. At least he'd had his first kiss when he was 21, even if that woman quit returning his calls a week later. Lars blamed his sorry luck with women on his lack of teenage romance, and he blamed his lack of teenage romance on the fact that he was the worst smelling kid in his grade every year. He stunk like the floor of a fish market every Christmas, starting at age 12. And even when he didn't smell terrible, the other kids acted like he did, because that's what kids do. Fish Boy, they called him, year-round, and it was all the fault of an old Swedish woman named Dorothy Seaborg. On a December afternoon in 1971, Dorothy Seaborg of Duluth, Minnesota, fell on the ice and broke her hip while walking to her mailbox, disrupting the supply line of lutefisk for the Sunday Advent dinners at St. Olaf's Lutheran Church. Lars's father, Gustav Torvald, of Duluth's Gustav and Sons Bakery, in one of the most conspicuous Norwegians between Cloquet and Two Harbors, promised everyone in St. Olaf's Fellowship Hall that there would be no break in lutefisk continuity. His family would step in and carry on this brutal Scandinavian tradition for the benefit of everyone in the Twin Ports region. Never mind that neither Gustav, his wife, nor his children had ever seen a live whitefish before, much less caught one, pounded it, dried it, soaked it in lye, re-soaked it in cold water, and done the careful cooking required to make something that, when perfectly prepared, looks like jellied smog and smells like boiled aquarium water. Since everyone in the house was equally unqualified for the job, the work fell to Lars, age 12, and his younger brother Jarl, age 10, sparing the youngest sibling, 9-year-old Sigmund, but only because he actually liked the stuff. If Lars and Jarl don't like it, Gustav told his wife Eileen, I can count on them not to eat any. It'll eliminate loss and breakage. Well, Gustav was satisfied with this reasoning, and Eileen still thought it was a mean thing to do to their young sons. She said nothing. Theirs was a mixed-race marriage between a Norwegian and a Dane, and thus all things culturally important to one but not the other were given a free pass and critiqued only in unmixed company. Yearly intimate contact with their cultural heritage failed to evolve the Torvald boy's sensibilities. Jarl, who still ate his own snot, much preferred the taste of boogers to lutefisk, being that the color and the consistency were the same. Lars, meanwhile, was still stumped by the old Scandinavian women who walked up to him in church and said, any young man who makes lutefisk like you is going to be quite a hit with the ladies. And Lars's experience, lutefisk skills, usually inspired revulsion, or at best indifference, among prospective dates. Even the girls who claimed they liked lutefisk didn't want to smell it when they weren't eating it, and Lars couldn't give them much of a choice. The once anticipated holiday season had become for Lars a cruel month of stench and rejection. And thanks to the boys at school, its social effects lingered long after everyone's desiccated Christmas trees were abandoned by the curbside. By the time Lars was 18, whatever tolerance he'd once had for this uncompromising tradition had long eroded. His hands were scarred from several advents of soaking dried whitefish in the lye. And every year, the smell clung harder to his pores, fingernails, hair, and shoes. And not just because their surface area had increased with maturity. Lars had also grown to become a little wizard in the kitchen, and by unintentionally mastering the tragic hobby of lutefisk preparation, its potency was skyrocketing. Lutherans were driving from as far away as Fergus Falls to have the Torvald lutefisk. And there wasn't an attractive young woman among any of them. As if to mock him further each year, Lars's dad would shove a forkful of the crap in his face each Christmas. Just a bite, Gustav would say. Your ancestors ate this to survive the long winters. And how did they survive lutefisk? Lars asked once. Take some pride in your work, son, Gustav said, and took away his left son punishment. Yeah, I know. In 1978, Lars graduated from high school and got the heck out of Duluth. His grades could have gotten him into a nice Lutheran school, like Gustavus Adolphus or Augsburg. But Lars wanted to be a chef, and he didn't see what good college would do him other than delay that goal by 4 years. Instead, he moved down to the cities, looking for a girlfriend and for kitchen work, in either order, requiring only that no one insist he makes lutefisk. And that attitude left a lot more options open than his dad predicted. After a 10-year unpaid apprenticeship at Gustav & Sons, Lars was already skilled at baking, arguably the most difficult of all the culinary duties, but didn't want to fall back on that, because he only chose jobs that could teach him something, and only wanted dates about as often as a vegetarian restaurant opens near an interstate highway. He gained a pretty decent handle on French, Italian, German, and American cuisine in just under a decade. By October 1987, as his home state was enraptured by the Twins winning their first World Series ever, Lars had earned a job as a chef at Hutmacher's, a trendy lakeside restaurant that attracted big celebrities like meteorologists, state senators, and local pro athletes. For years, it was said, a Twins player could enjoy his meals at Hutmacher's unremarked and unmolested. But by the week Lars was hired, jubilant ball players were regularly turning the late shift into an upbeat party. Amid this circumstance of a long-suffering sports team's success, the strange joy of it all spread through the restaurant. It was during these happy weeks when Cynthia Hargreaves, the smartest waitress on staff, she gave the best wine pairing advice of any of the servers, seemed to take an interest in Lars. By this time he was 28, growing a pale, hairy inner tube around his waist, and already going bald. Even though she had an overbite in the shakes, she was 6 feet tall and beautiful. And not like a statue or a perfume advertisement, but in a realistic way, like how a truck or a pizza is beautiful in the moment you want it most. And this to Lars made her feel approachable. When she came back to the kitchen, the guys would check her out, but Lars refrained. Said he'd look her in the face when he told her things like, "Tell him it'll be 5 more minutes on that veal." And, "No, I will not hold the garlic, it's pesto." "Oh, can't you make a sauce with just pine nuts, olive oil, basil, and Romano?" she asked. He was a bit impressed that she knew the other ingredients off the top of her head. Maybe he shouldn't have been, but it just wasn't the kind of thing he expected people outside a kitchen to know. He knew he must have communicated this to her when he saw how she was smiling back at him, knowingly, like he'd been caught in the act of something. "Well, you know I can try," he said, "but then it's not pesto, it's something else." "How fresh is the basil?" she asked. "Pesto lives or dies by its basil." He admired her decisive way of phrasing an incorrect opinion. It was actually the preparation that determined the quality. Proper pesto, he had learned during a previous job at Pronto Ristorante, is made with a mortar and pestle. It makes all the difference. "It's 2 days old," he said. "Where do you get it? The St. Paul Farmers Market?" "Yeah, from Anna Hlavik." "Oh, you should get it from Ellen Chamberlain. Ellen grows the best basil." Such wonderfully erroneous food opinions. This is getting Lars all riled up. Still, in his Minneapolis years, liberated from both his lutefisk stench and its reputation, he'd driven women away due to what they called his eagerness, and he couldn't allow that to happen again. "Oh, does she now?" he asked her, continuing to work, not looking up at her. "Yeah," she said, stepping closer to him, trying to keep him engaged. "Anna grows sweet corn in the same plot as her basil. You know what sweet corn does to soil." She had a point if that were true. I didn't know Anna grew sweet corn. "Oh, she doesn't sell it to the public." She smiled at him again. "And I'll tell my customer yes on the garlic-free pesto." "Why?" "I want to see you work a little harder back here," she said. He couldn't help it. He was in love by the time she left the kitchen. The love made him feel sad and doomed, as usual. What he didn't know was that she'd suffered through a decade of cool, commitment-phobic men, and Lars's kindness, but mostly his effusive, overt enthusiasm for her, was at that time exactly what she was looking for in a partner.